Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Mainstream Monday on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with my awesome co-host. How are you doing, John Ward?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about Dracula 2, The Ascension, the sequelish kind of movie. I
It
don't know.
is. It is. It takes
Yes,
place literally right after the first one ends.
I kind of so I read somewhere that sort of it sort of fucked up because it they didn't, I guess it didn't happen the way that, like, at the end of Dracula 2000 they said they were gonna send him off to the what is it, the cave or whatever, the vault, that he was in before. And then I guess I guess it got sent to the morgue, you know, the body, his body
Yeah.
or whatever, burnt body. So it didn't go to the vault and went to the morgue instead, which I guess that was never kind of discussed about, but I guess I'm guessing the police got involved or something and sent it to the, you know,
Well, we know why. It's because they never thought of making, Dracula 2001.
right.
And then they had, a couple of years later, they're like, well, shit, what do we do? Okay, he'll just go to the morgue.
Yeah. So I do think it's interesting that they have a different Dracula, and it's basically Dracula 2. He's like named.
That is how he is listed. And
Yeah.
and I don't think I showed this last time. This is my version of it.
Oh, I did not
That's
bring mine. Next time I'll bring mine. Just I have to.
I think you might have shown yours on the last one, I think, but
I don't
it's
know.
I think you told me this is now out of print, and
Probably.
it's got all the movies on one disc, but they still look pretty good. So, but this is, and it's with Wes Craven's They.
Hey.
But I have four problems with Dracula.
Wait, real quick,
So,
real quick, before just this is the one non topic one or whatever. But is they the pronoun movie, horror film movie now?
what Wes Craven presents the pronoun they.
Is it starring Ezra Miller? Like, can we?
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, I can't tell if that's male, female. I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. So maybe
I don't know.
yeah.
All right. That's it. That's it.
It is terrifying according to the box.
Ezra Miller is terrifying. So if he's in it, I mean, who knows?
He is. He's all over the news with kidnapping and being on the run and all that stuff.
He's pretty terrifying. All right. Anyway, moving on. So were you gonna
back
say
on topic?
Yes, back on topic. I just wanted to get that out there.
Well, no, I kind of cut you off a little bit because I wanted to get this in at the very beginning instead of like halfway through. So if you want to finish what you were talking about.
Oh, well, just basically, I mean, so the movie, I mean, the original movie ended, and you're right, like, and I don't think they had any plans of doing a sequel. So when they did Dracula, I have Dracula 2, and I think, like, in the third one, there's Dracula 3. And if you look at the credits, there's Dracula 3 listed as Rutger Hauer, which
Right.
he is not actually. I thought he was going to be like he was going to take over halfway through or something, or whatever. But no, I mean, he literally, I guess, is not in the movie in the second one, but he's in the third,
Yeah, I read that the idea was that each film would have like a different reincarnation of Dracula, but which would make sense, except that Dracula 2, and here's I said I had four problems. This is the fourth one. Is the film has no ending.
It has.
That's not an ending.
That is not an ending.
Every film needs a beginning, middle, and end, and that includes like The Empire Strikes Back. That includes everything. You have each film should have a beginning, middle, and end, and it doesn't matter if it's part of a trilogy or whatever.
Right.
And this didn't have that ending. It just kind of ended, and I'm thinking like, okay, so now we're going to go into Dracula 3, and it's going to be Rutger Hauer, but yet Dracula didn't die in part 2.
Yeah. See, it would have worked if Dracula died, and then they just resurrected him again.
Yeah, because I would have liked that.
I would have liked that too. In fact, I was kind of disappointed that he didn't die, because
he wins.
that doesn't bother me. It's just, yeah, it
But it's
bothers.
rare when Dracula wins. He always gets the steak or something.
I know, or sunlight,
Sunlight,
or
yeah.
whatever it is. He usually gets like killed, and in this situation, he lived, so he was back. Um,
But
God,
I do have to say, I do love how they start this film right as like the first one ends. I really
yeah.
liked that. And I was paying really close attention to like, okay, how is this gonna go? I guess I didn't hear the vault thing in the first movie, or I just forgot about it. But I was making sure, like, okay, are we keeping track here? Does this make sense to the ending of the first film? I guess it kind of does and doesn't, from what you've said. But I like that it takes place right after it, that it's not like 1 year later, that it's like right after it.
Right. So what I saw, I'm gonna read what I read, which was like basically this was a goof, kind of thing. Um, as a sequel, the plot contradicts the previous film's epilogue, which states that Mary returned Dracula's remains to the underground vault. Also, her father had used the vampire blood in order to extend his life, whereas people in this film are injecting themselves with the blood to become vampires. Dracula 2000, Mary's father specifically states he filtered the blood through the leeches. The people in this movie are just injecting unfiltered blood. So technically, it doesn't even sort of go with what they were doing with with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about films that took place in, like, let's say the 30s or the 40s, so you have all the Frankenstein movies and Dracula movies and all that stuff.
The Universal
You
monster.
Yeah, you didn't have video back then, so you wouldn't be able to do what we're doing, obviously. So back then you would wait a year or two, and then another film would come out and you wouldn't remember, oh,
Right.
did Frankenstein fall into the quicksand, or did he get burned in a house, or whatever it is? You wouldn't remember that.
Right.
But now, and I did this originally when I was collecting all the Universal monster movies, is I would watch them back to back, and they were actually pretty good about it. But you didn't have that back then, so you'd be like, oh, okay, so I guess they just took him, Dracula, down from the cross, and they brought him into this morgue. You wouldn't think about the vault or anything.
Right.
So they kind of, yeah.
Kind of fucked up, but it's okay. It's okay. That doesn't, to me, it doesn't kill the story at all. Like, I mean, literally, I read that. I didn't even remember that myself. Like it wasn't a thing in my head. It was just like I read that, go, oh crap, they did do that, didn't they? And see, that's another problem with the internet, is people will tell you these things, and you'll be like, oh shit, that's right. And like our show, well, we point out a lot of things that people probably go, oh fuck,
Right. Yeah. And I've told you, even on the last video, that this is my favorite out of the three. Mm-hmm. And I think it still is. I love the blonde Dracula. I love that he's in a swimming pool, and that like some old spa, like an abandoned spa. And I don't know what you would call it, but he's like strapped up to that big like X thing, with his legs are shackled, and his arms are shackled. I don't know what you would call that.
No idea.
I don't know if it's like a bed or whatever you would call it, but I mean, you always see like the Frankenstein monster and stuff on that
on those things, yeah,
moves like this. So I don't know if it's kind of the same thing, but I love that he's just strapped up to that, and they got lights hitting him, and that Dracula isn't, or Dracula 2 is not the main guy going around killing everybody. I like that he's more like it is more like a science fiction movie in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it's more sciencey. So, and it doesn't feel like the first film, even though it's made by the same director. It has a very different feel to it. But I still have those 4 problems with it. And the number 4 was that it has no ending. That really bugged the shit out of me. some of the other problems I have is, and it's more of an editing or pacing thing at the end of the film, is that the black guy who injects himself and becomes a vampire. Where did that come from? Like, he was all about the money,
right?
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's injecting himself. Craig Schaefer in the wheelchair sees him, and he then all of a sudden he turns into this vampire instantly. He knows how to vampire, which I always hate in these types of movies, is whenever somebody becomes a vampire, they instantly know how to vampire. They know how to jump, they know how to fly, they know how to do everything. And it's like, I think Interview with a Vampire is the only one where, like, you know, like Tom Cruise was teaching Brad Pitt, like, you know, how to be a vampire. And it's like, and so that really bugged me, because as the black guy's running out, you could hear the girl, I'm blanking on her name. Is she Elizabeth? Is that her name? Or is that from the first film?
It sounds familiar.
The one the one that's on your wallpaper.
Yeah, she's my favorite.
She sees him.
Elizabeth, yep.
Yeah, okay. So she sees him and goes, he's taken the vials. He's injected the vials. He's a vampire or something like that. And it's like, what? When did this happen? How do you even know that?
You know, it's funny because I think I looked down for a second and then I looked up and he's like a vampire. And I had to rewind and I was like, wait, what? You know,
I rewound it myself because it's like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And then the other one that I have a problem is with Elizabeth, is when Dracula 2 is grabbing the guy and like the electrocution is going on and everything is blowing up. We see in the background, Elizabeth is standing, cuts to the vampire. Then it cuts back to Elizabeth. She's like a little woozy. And then it cuts back to the vampire, cut back to Elizabeth. She kind of collapses, cut back to the vampire, cut back to Elizabeth. Then she's on the stairs. Once again, so is it the virus that is making her? Because it was almost like, to me, like the director or somebody went, oh shit, we need to get her infected, like turned into a vampire, and we forgot to do it. So in the background, just kind of stumble a little bit, you know, be a little woozy. Okay, now you're a little dizzy. Okay, now fall on the stairs. Like, there's really no buildup to that happening, because she's perfectly fine before that.
I don't know. You're right. There was a fuck up on their behalf.
Yeah, it was done really, and it's all in that last act that there's no ending. The guy out of nowhere wants to become a vampire instead of getting the money. She's all woozy for some reason. I'll think of what the fourth one is, because I know I had a fourth. And then, I don't know, maybe this was the fourth or more just a question. But if Dracula 2 could just pull himself off the bed and out of the shackles, why didn't he just do that to begin with?
Good question.
I mean, I know that they're using the lights on him, you know, because he goes, oh, it's as powerful as the sun. And so that's what's keeping him there. But a couple times they toned it down or turned it off. And he's still sitting there letting her take blood out of him, or trying to take blood out of him.
I also didn't like the twist with the idea of the guy, you know, the guy and the other guy working together and stuff, and that he was the big money man, because wasn't she on the phone with him when he made that call to the other guy, to Jason London's character? Like, weren't they on the, like, wouldn't they have been on the phone at the same time? That bothered me, because because there's that scene where she goes and calls the guy up because she needs to talk to him about what happens, right? At the same time, the other guy's getting a phone call about this. Doesn't make any sense. The
other guy being Craig Schaefer?
Yeah, Craig Schaefer, the boyfriend who was in the wheelchair. You know? So Elizabeth goes to call.
Right.
You know, right? Goes on the phone, call the guy to tell him about the vampire, you know, and
instead of saying guy, to tell me who are you talking about?
Her boyfriend, the
Just say like
wheelchair
Craig
guy.
Schaefer.
Craig Schaefer. Okay.
Okay, so she's
So
calling Craig
Diane
Schaefer.
Neal, who is my favorite actress from Law and Order Special Victims Unit. She's the lawyer, and she's a former lawyer in there, and she's Elizabeth. But Diane Neal goes to call up her boyfriend Craig Schaefer on the phone, and while she's doing that, Jason London gets a call about a $30 million whatever, right? Like the 30,
right, for the British guy.
Yeah. That can't that can't happen. She just talked to him. So he says he's the one who called at the end of the movie.
Right. I do believe you're correct about that. The
he says he's the timing is off. Unless she went to the bathroom or took a long ass time, that they were doing it at the same exact time. So either and they can't say that the other guy did it, because how would he have known? He was on the phone with Craig Schaefer was on the phone with her at that time, like that. No, that was the problem. Is that was convenient timing for that situation, but doesn't work at all.
So it works as far as the script in that scene goes, because we're supposed to think that it's two different things,
right?
But like you pointed out at the end of the film, when he goes, "Oh yeah, I was the guy on the phone," then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if it was just a random person, like, and that guy was working for somebody else, like the way it was set up, that's one thing, right? Like, but then he's like, I'm the guy who, has the $30 million. I'm the one who made the phone call to you, blah, blah, blah. Which I'm like, it made more sense that the other guy was the one who made the phone call, because he's like more British and stuff. Like, did that guy fake an accent just to
wait, that who's that guy?
Craig Schaefer make an accent? Okay. Did he do an accent just to throw Jason London off?
No, I don't think so, because she was talking to Craig Schaefer when London got the phone call from the British guy,
which makes no sense. Yeah,
it doesn't, because she would have to talk to Craig Schaefer, hang up. Craig Schaefer would have to call the British guy and say, "I need for you to call one of the Londons and say, I'll give you $20 billion, to deliver this body." So you're looking at 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah. And she should have probably already been back in the room.
By the way, I love both Londons, like both. I met Jeremy London, but I've always wanted to meet Jason London someday. I love both of them. They're just great actors to me. But so I got excited when I saw this cast. This cast, I think you even liked my post about all the cast, like I'm down once I see that cast. Diane Neal, as I said, was in Law and Order Special Victims Unit. She played a great lawyer. She's kind of a bitchy character, and I loved her. And this is her debut, apparently. So good for her. She got a pretty good movie as a debut. Like for her debut. Then what is it? Jason London, Craig Schaefer, who I grew up watching. Roy Scheider's part, man.
It's very small, but I think it's larger in the third one.
Is it? Okay.
I think so. I think
that makes more sense, because I was like going, wait a minute.
There's only two scenes in this.
Oh, it was 2 scenes, and it was 2 quick scenes too. And I was just like, did they paid Roy Scheider for that? I mean, so now it makes me happy that he's in the third one. I didn't even know he was in the third one. I
haven't seen it in a long time, but I think there's more of him, because I think he's listed on here, isn't he? Yeah, he's the middle. He's
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's Lee, London, Roy Scheider, and somebody else, Haller. Oh, Ruckerhauer. There we go. It's Ruckerhauer. Yeah.
Yep. Who was also in was it Buffy Vampire Slayer?
Yeah. Well, and then he played Van Helsing in Dario Argento's Dracula 3D.
Well, there you go. He
he
just loves this shit.
Yeah, yeah. So it's God, what was that fourth one that I was thinking of? I had 4. So I had Guy with Blood, Girl Fainting, No Ending. God, that ending really bugged the shit out of me. But I just like the way, I think if I made a top 20, this would be in it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I just love the idea of just him being stuck in a swimming pool, just on that giant X thing throughout the whole movie. And he's blonde and,
Well, it's funny because I was watching like Melrose Place, and at the end of like the 3rd season, it ends with like a spoiler alert, if you don't mind spoiling, getting spoiled for Melrose Place. But in the third,
does anybody watch Melrose Place?
I do. I still do. I'm rewatching it. But in the 3rd season, one of the women say they're gonna bomb the apartment complex, right? And she's about to press the button, but then they just cut to black, before it happens, leaving you to wonder, did she do it? Did she not do it? Kind of thing.
Right.
And so this sort of reminded me of that, of like there was just a cliffhanger of
that's TV. Yeah. I mean, that's episodic. So it's okay. But this is a movie. You need a clear ending.
Well, they just wanted you to go, what the fuck? I want to see what's going to happen next. So I have to go watch Dracula 3.
Well, it's kind of like Skyline, and now Skyline has its 3 movies that were promised like 20 years ago or whatever it was. But the ending of Skyline, the first one, has no ending. It just ends. And I got really pissed off at that. And I know somebody who knows the guys who made it, and he's like, "Oh, this was at the time when Skyline came out." And he goes, "Oh yeah, they plan on making a trilogy. There's going to be a second one." Well, the 3rd one just came out last year. So, wow, that took a long time. But and each film focuses on different people. So the first one still does not have an ending because they never went back to the people from the first movie when they made the second movie. So it's just every film, no matter what, if it's a trilogy or whatever, still has to have a beginning and middle and end, even if it does have a cliffhanger.
Because Dracula's 2000 had an ending, it did.
Right.
Because like you said, they weren't thinking of making it a trilogy at that time. They were thinking, if this movie makes money, we can make a sequel. Because here's something that a lot of people probably know by now. Dracula has been resurrected. I don't know how many fucking times. There's no, I was having a discussion because we're doing Dracula in my Echo Lake Universe stuff. And I was talking to the guy who's going to be playing Dracula. And I was like, I don't want to kill you off in one of the projects because, I want to keep you around for the next one. He goes, "Oh, it's fine. We'll just resurrect me, for the next movie, and like, how many times has Dracula been resurrected? It doesn't matter, and I think actually to me, that's honestly the most fun part is figure out how to resurrect Dracula,
Well, yeah. And Dracula, since it's a fictional character, you could do whatever you want with it. Mm-hmm. So you can't say, well, Dracula can't do that. Why not? Dracula's not real. You can make Dracula do whatever you want to. In Dracula 2, they do some of the traditional stuff, like the counting, he has the knots to undo. He has the counting to do. There's things like that have been abandoned by almost everybody that, that does it, but they went historical Dracula, and right. that's stuff that he had to do. So it's and this is clearly not the same Dracula as in Dracula 2000, because that one was more of the Bela Lugosi, kind of, welcome, type guy, the fancy mm-hmm. guy and the seductive guy.
It's funny because they bring up like all the Judas stuff again and everything and all that stuff. And I mean, I was like, okay, so they're really trying to put this home that this is a sequel to Dracula 2000, you
which I was
know.
happy about. That looked like it was some old footage and new footage, or maybe it was the stuff they didn't put into the first one.
Maybe it was stuff that they deleted from the first one. But it was kind of cool, you know, like I don't know, it didn't bother me. But I told you before this podcast, after watching this, that I still like Dracula 2000 more. And I do. And I'm
Right.
gonna stand by that, because even though, like, what I didn't dig about the movie the most is sort of how, kind of, to me, it was kind of boring, you know. Yeah, blasphemy for you.
Ugh.
Yeah,
See,
it's kind of putting me to sleep a little bit.
Wow. I was
Because
not at all.
I don't like medical stuff much, you know. Like, I'm not into medical dramas or medical, things. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. I don't watch anything about autopsies. I'm just not into that stuff. So when they kind of bring Dracula and they're doing a lot of the blood transfusion stuff or whatever, or injecting the blood and I had no interest in any of that stuff. And I was like, oh shit, we're in a morgue. Like, at first it made me think of Valentine, the beginning of Valentine, where they're in the morgue. I was like, oh, we're gonna be in the morgue for like 5 minutes, and then something's gonna happen, and then we're gonna get out of them. They were in the morgue for like 30 minutes, it felt like, and I was just like, Jesus, can we?
I did not think that you would like this more, and I say that because, how can I put this? You seem to be more of a Dawson's Creek guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you would like more of the Dracula 2000 stuff, where it would be more kind of a WB, OC type of thing. While I've mentioned before, I like taking Dracula and putting him on the moon. So
Right.
for me, Dracula being strapped to some big giant X in a swimming pool in an abandoned spa, and now he's blonde. And I keep saying he's blonde because I haven't mentioned this yet, but I'm a big fan of Brides of Dracula from Hammer. And that Dracula, which is actually a descendant of Dracula, it's not supposed to be Christopher Lee, but it's a descendant of Dracula, even though they call him Dracula, is blonde. It's the I think up to maybe this film, it's the only blonde Dracula. And a friend of mine who I was even watching Dracula 2 with goes, wow, it's like Brides of Dracula. He's blonde. And I thought that was really cool. So for me, taking Dracula out of that kind of Dawson's Creek setting and putting him more into this Hammer swimming pool type of thing, I liked better.
Yeah.
It fit better.
And you're right. I mean, I think another reason I didn't like it too was the same reason you probably liked it. But I mean, you did like it because you mentioned that you were more of a fan of the fact that Dracula doesn't do much of the killing. Dracula is pretty much most of the time, Dracula is on that thing. It's not till like the end of the movie where he gets free, or whatever, where apparently you're right. He could have just fucking.
Yeah, he just breaks out. That's my question is, was he just fucking with them? Is does he, like he put up with all the pain? He did all of that just to fuck with them because he knew that he could break out.
Maybe. So yeah, I think I prefer Dracula 2000, where there was a lot more, like, other people, I mean, there was some in this, but I liked more of like Dracula doing the killing, and then having his brides killing or whatever, or in that Omar Epps, in Dracula 2000 killing people. You know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of fun with that. So I
but you can't say this was just like a remake. I mean,
it's
very different from the first film.
It is very different. I just didn't enjoy it as much. And I as much now, well, like I said, I enjoyed the cast a lot, and they picked, just like, I remember I told you I liked the guy Lachlan Monroe, who you don't even know who he is, I liked him in the Dracula 2000 and wished he had had a bigger part, or whatever. But this uh, in this movie, I don't know. I was just like, I felt like Jason London didn't. I almost said Jason Lee because of Jason Scott Lee, who's in the movie. Jason London, I felt like he didn't get much to, he did do a couple things. He was, apparently he was very, he helped Jason Scott Lee, a lot, I think that's his name, right?
Yeah, Jason Scott Lee. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go, it's called, it's Dracula, the Bruce Lee story,
well, and I liked him too. I liked him as
I loved him. I loved him. I love him in everything. I can't get mad at ever Jason Scott Lee being in any of these movies, because I just think he's fun.
I like that he was this a priest that was not scared. In a lot of these movies, is all of a sudden like the priest will lose faith or something, and he'll get all scared and panicky and all that. And no, not him. He's just taking that whip that has like little blades on it or metal pieces and just whipping it around the heads and pulling them right off.
Nope.
And or stabbing somebody in the gut. Yeah, I mean, he did a good job. I liked him in this. That's what I like about this, is that I can't, except for that last act, I just think that they dropped the ball. And it was almost like they had like a giant script, like a 3-hour script. And they went, shit, we can't make this. So we're going to have to cut it in half. We'll do 2 and 3, but we have to do something with the ending of 2. So we'll take this out, we'll take this out, we'll take this out. And then that made that last act not have a lot of sense with the guy doing
also didn't have a lot of oomph, it was sort of like a lackluster ending. But I did like the idea that Diane Neal's character was now a vampire, and everything and stuff at the end. And that, because there was that line that if she might not be that infected, yet, if she goes into the sunlight and
right,
she will survive. If she survives, she's human or whatever. If she doesn't, and so she started testing it, and she's like, nope, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah. So she's like, and she tells him to get out of here, right? And she joins Dracula at the end. I was like, that's awesome. I loved it. I love that part.
I mean, I like that he wins. I just wish that it would have had a more solid ending, that if they never made a part 3, this would be an ending,
this would piss off this would have pissed off Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. He has a problem with he got mad at Alphas, the show Alphas, because they never got renewed for another season, but they left with a cliffhanger. He just hates that stuff, and I'm just like, yep, that would piss him off. I like watching this. He needs something to be finished, he can't just leave something undone and everything. I'm the exact opposite. If that was all that they had and they never made a part 3, I would have been okay, I mean, it wouldn't have bothered me.
I avoid TV shows that I know that were canceled without an ending.
You told me that because you won't watch Firefly, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I may watch that because everybody says how great it is, but it's I don't. Why do I want to watch something that's like reading a book without the final chapter?
Well, unless they did do a final episode,
Well, who knows with the way that Josh Whedon is these days, with how people think of him, but. They came back and they did another movie with Dexter. They came back and they brought back X-Files and
they brought back a whole season of Dexter.
Yeah, so that they so they might have been able to do something with Firefly, maybe with if But,
well, I mean, they did do Serenity, the movie,
yeah,
which I think kind of did set up I think it continued the storyline. I mean, exactly sort of where they left off, so it was.
But the good thing for us, we do have a Dracula 3. So it
We
should have
do.
that should wrap it up. Oh, and something I just thought of. So while watching part 2, I liked that the scratch would even turn you.
Yeah.
Jason Lee goes out and to the sunlight, and he's and it leaves him, right. It gets rid of it, and I like that idea, but that was done in Daybreakers.
Oh, well, was
That's
that before or after?
I don't know, because I also think Daybreakers is based on a book. So that was when like Willem Dafoe is in the car that's all covered, which is kind of like near dark. And I think he gets into the car accident and he goes out into the sun and he stays out there too long and he's like screaming, and that gets rid of the vampirism in him and he becomes human again.
All right, so Daybreakers was 2009 and it's not based on a book, it says.
Okay.
Apparently, so maybe they took
graphic
that from
novel. I think graphic novel. I think it's based on something.
I don't. It's not. There's no writer other than the Spirit Brothers as writers of it. So, I was aware of them because of they did the Undead, movie or whatever. So they did a zombie movie and then they did this one, Daybreakers, and I knew of it. I don't think I ever watched it.
It's a good film.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing it at some point, I'm sure.
The best thing in it is Sam Neill, playing like the main vampire. He's not Dracula, but he's like the main vampire. And that they cast him for certain roles because of him playing Damien in The Omen 3. That's why I would do it. I'd be like, oh, I don't give a shit about you in Jurassic Park. I want you in my film because you were Damien. and so that's why I think he plays certain roles, is because like Rutger Hauer, you can get a ton of action movies, but then there's going to be those filmmakers that are like, I want you to be a vampire in my movie,
because you were great as Lothos and Buffy.
Yeah, I mean they just know it's testosterone, or like Udo Kier or something. You want him as. I'm surprised he never played Dr. Frankenstein more than once. So I think that would be obvious, is to get him to play, in more Frankenstein movies, but instead he just played Dracula in a bunch of films.
No.
Or was in a bunch of movies with Dracula.
Well, there you go. I don't know. All right, so I want to talk about real quick the connection I have with Morbius. And you were saying you haven't seen Morbius, right? So
no, I turned it off. So no.
Did you start watching it?
I watched a bootleg and I turned it off. So I just said, this isn't working for me.
After how long?
15 minutes.
Okay.
Well, he killed everybody on the boat.
Okay. So you got to that part.
Yeah, so, and I'm just like, no, I'm done. This isn't doing it.
So the whole idea is he's trying to find a cure for his disease, and his sort of sets up where this movie did that, where they were trying to find the cure for that guy's disease, where he was in the wheelchair. Craig Schaefer's character.
Craig Schaefer, yeah.
Yeah. So he's in the wheelchair, and which I'm gonna say this. I love characters that are in wheelchairs, and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it goes back to my X-Men love, and seeing, Professor X, always in the gliding thing. But like, I love wheelchairs. I just always have. I think people are they have a powerful presence sometimes when they're just in the wheelchair, or whatever. So
I find this very funny and interesting. So I've never heard anybody say this.
I want to put more like powerful characters in wheelchairs in my movies and stuff. So get ready.
So if they came to you and said, you know what, we want you to make another Hannibal movie, you're like, yes, he's in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Perfect. And it's just like, well, no, he's not in a wheelchair. Yes, he's in a wheelchair. Hannibal's in a wheelchair.
That's how it's going to be in my movie.
We're going to make another Jurassic Park. All the dinosaurs will be in wheelchairs.
I don't know if that's who's going to push the dinosaurs, because that's like heavy as shit.
Especially the T-Rex.
I know. Yeah, he can't do it himself.
No, he could have an electric wheelchair.
Oh. I don't think he
Stay
can
on
do that
topic.
either.
Stay on
You have
topic.
to use his legs. I don't know. Be a pain in the ass. But anyway, go back to that. And I think that was the thing in Morbius is like Morbius's friend was in a wheelchair, you know, and they were trying to find the cure, and then Morbius's friend finds the cure, you know, or whatever, finds the stuff that Jared Leto's character Morbius makes, and and Morbius turns himself to try it, and you saw that part because he gets into he's on the boat and he kills everybody, so wow, that was 15 minutes. Jesus, that
Well,
flew
maybe
by
20,
quickly then.
whatever that part was. So
Yeah.
plus it wasn't a very good copy of the film. So I don't like watching that type of stuff anyways that way, but I thought, I'm never going to pay for this. I mean, maybe I'll watch it this way. It's
and I don't.
Disney,
I mean,
and it's
I'm
new
not.
Marvel. I'm not.
No, it's not Disney.
Oh yeah, it's part of that Sony,
It's Sony
thing that they keep failing at.
I know. Well, that's the only. Yeah. Stay on topic. All right, that has nothing to do with Dracula 2. But so they were doing the blood transfusion stuff, and all I could think about was Morbius, because all I could think about was, which I don't know if that's like if they got ideas from Dracula 2 or if like
I would say no, because Morbius the Vampire, the Marvel comic, was out in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, no, it was, but they did it differently. They did it they did their own take on it. So it was definitely a more newer kind of, because they didn't have like the idea of these technological stuff back in the 70s, so really I think it like back in the 70s or something, it would be like a potion that you would take and turn you into a vampire.
I would say it'd be a blood transfusion. I mean, they had blood transfusions back then. They've had blood.
I don't know if they did that I don't know if they did that in the comics. I don't know, but maybe you're right. So maybe they
did. I would just can't imagine anybody watching Dracula 2, and no offense to the film, since I really like it, but I think that you really have to be kind of I don't know, like really obscure type of person to, I mean, I get Dracula 2000 because it's kind of like a Scream type thing, but
well, it's also the more popular one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's possible that maybe one person watched it and or a couple, and they said, hey, why don't we do this for maybe they watched a whole bunch of vampire movies before writing that film. Maybe. And Dracula 2 was one of them. They picked up that DVD you have and they watched all three.
I mean, it was Patrick Lussier and and Joel Saison who wrote it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say his name, but he's done a lot of awesome stuff. I wish he'd get more credit for things.
So he was the one who wrote Dracula 2000, right? And he's the one who came up with the title, and he's the one, or whatever. So I think he and Patrick did a really good job, like working on this, or whatever. And I think they are both horror fanatics, I know Patrick is, but Patrick loves horror films, and stuff.
Yeah, I just was Joel, like Sashon, or however you say his name. I mean, if you look him up on IMDb, he's done a bunch of really good stuff. Most of that for like Miramax or Dimension. Yeah. But I mean, he did like one of the Children of the Corns. He did Pulse, like the 2 Pulse movies.
I think he did, if I'm correct, he did like a Hellraiser or something too. Like,
yeah. He did a lot of those. So it's because a lot of the guys that worked on these movies, like Dracula 2000 and stuff, if you look at the credits, all worked on Dimension stuff. So you would spot them in the Hellraiser movies, the Pulse movies, Children of the Corn films. I mean, they all worked constantly. Yeah. So I think he deserves more credit. So, and I'm not just saying that, if he is watching this for some reason and would like to give me a job. So
I don't think he can give you the job, but you'd have to talk to his boss, He
could do a recommendation.
Unless he's created his own production company. That seems to be the thing these days.
Yeah, isn't he part of that Neo and Logic, or
I have not followed his career as much as I should have, because I do really like him because of Pulse. I was a big fan of Pulse. which not a lot of
The
people
Pulse
are.
films are
Yeah.
good. I
Not a lot
like
of people like them, weirdly enough. Every time I talk to
I
people
like all
about
three.
Pulse, they don't. Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, they're not the original movies. I mean, the problem when they made the remake, the first one, is it lost the absolute essence of the original movie, which was about loneliness.
Yeah,
And Americans just made it into a horror movie. You know, that's all we did, was just make it into a ghost movie.
right.
But you know, the country that it came from, it's all about loneliness.
Was it Korean?
Possibly, I have it behind me, but I don't know where exactly.
Or Japanese or Korean?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah. It's in Asia.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's J-horror. So
yeah. So I mean, and I love that stuff. So I love this writer. I thought he did a great job. And I'm kind of excited to check out part 3. Even though I know you say you don't like it and you probably hate it.
I'm gonna go in with an empty mind. I'm gonna go in with
there you go.
with an open mind. I just remember
open,
it being a
empty.
comedy. Open, empty. I mean, yeah. I just remember it being a comedy, and I'm just like, why is this supposed to be funny when the last one was so serious?
I might like that. I don't
Yeah.
know. You know me. I prefer my horror to have comedy in it, because now sometimes it's weird, and I don't like it, if it does have like too much comedy and doesn't like it sounds like it's not, it shouldn't have comedy in it, but it does, and so I don't know. Yeah. I'm excited to check that out, but I like the I like Dracula 2000 a lot. I like this one. It's okay. I don't remember what did we rate these? Do you remember? Did we even give a rating for Dracula 2000?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. I think we more or less gave it the same thing. Like, out of 5, I think we both gave it like 4.
I think we gave
something
it
like
4.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I might have done maybe like 3.5, 4, because I had some problems with it, but it was roughly 4.
Yeah. Okay. That seems about right. So I'm gonna I'll say that for this one, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. So what do you say?
I'm gonna give it 3.5.
Okay.
And so Dracula 2000 is closer to a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I think, is a 3.5, and I would probably give it 4 if just that third act was better. To me, that was just so choppy and just didn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
So it gets it knocked down by half a star.
Well, there you go.
Half a fang.
Half a fang. All right. Yes, I'll give it 3 fangs. You can give it 3.5 fangs. I think that's fair. I like I said, I wasn't as into this as Dracula 2000, and you said you knew that was going to be the case anyway. So what's your guess on Dracula 3? Am I going to like it more, or am I going to like it less?
I think you will like it more than 2, but you will still like 1 better. Okay.
So, all right. So I will like it more than 2, but like 1 better. All right. Well, let's find out. I'm excited.
Yeah. Because I almost watched part 3 last night, or when I was done with part 2, because it had that just abrupt cliffhanger. I almost went, well, shit, now I want to watch part 3. Well, it did its job. Because I wanted to see, like, do we wrap up 2 at all? Because I forget. I mean, I saw this like when it originally came out on video. So I'm like, well, crap, I don't remember. But I thought, no. I'm gonna wait. I'll wait till next Sunday, and we'll see what then I'll check it out then. So,
all right. Well, there you go. Next week we get to watch part 3, and next week we will have it, and then we'll let you guys know what's next on the agenda after that. So
yeah.
Until then, thank you guys all for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and join us next week. Bye.
Bye.